I get Moyed. I'm now going to upload or record Daf Lamed Hey and an Amud of Daf Lamed Vav Emir Hashem, and slowly over the next few days try to catch up the days that we missed on Yontiv and Shabbos. We're up to the second line on top of Lamed Hey Amud Aleph, V'chilufa b'chalta. What we learned our last time was, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ben Hashmoshe started when the sun set, and according to Rabbah, it continued from when the sun set until the entire eastern sky was dark, which took 3/4 of a mil, which was 9/12. But according to Rav Yosef, Ben Hashmoshe started not when the sun set, but when the lower part of the eastern sky was already dark. All that was left was the upper part of the eastern sky, and Ben Hashmoshe's was from the point when the bottom half of the eastern sky was dark and the upper half was bright, until the upper half of the eastern sky also turned dark. And the Gemara said in the end the difference between the two was pretty fast. It was 1/12 of a mil. So, but just as a memory aid, according to Rabbah, it was 3/4 of a mil, the time from the beginning, from sunset until the stars come out. And according to Rabbi Yosef, the time of Ben Hashmoshe was 2/3 of a mil. So Rabbah used the number 3, and Rabbi Yosef used the number 2. The Gemara says, V'chilufa, these numbers are reversed, Bechalta, regarding a large beehive, or Dhamma Rabbah says Chalta, when you have a large, this is like a beehive. Bastre Kuri, that's large and it holds 2 kur, that's 60 sa, a kur is 30 sa. Shori Litaltula, you're allowed to manipulate it on Shabbos because it's considered a utensil. Ubas Tlasa Kuri, but if it's larger and it holds 3 kur, which is 90 sa, Asr Litaltula, you're not allowed to manipulate it anymore because it's too big to be considered a utensil. Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yosef says, Batlosa Kuri Nami Shari, even if the beehive is so large that it holds a 3 kur, it's also, you're allowed to manipulate it. But Basar Ba Kuri, when it holds 4 kur, then it's Asr. Then it's too big to be metaltal because no longer a keli. So again, one has nothing to do with the other. It's just a play on numbers. That whereas the time of Ben Hashmoshe, according to Rabbah, was 3/4 of a mil, and according to Rav Yosef was 2/3 of a mil, when it comes to how big of a kaveris you're allowed to be metaltal, Rabbah says you can be metaltal one that's 2 kur large, and Rav Yosef says you can be metaltal even one that's 3 kur large. But for La Halacha L'Maisa, Amar Abaya said, Boy Minei Demar, I once asked my Rebbe Rabbah, B'Shas Masa, when it was reality, I wanted to manipulate one of these big beehives, Vafilu Bas Trei Kuri Leishorali, even though he held that a beehive of 2 kur you're allowed to be manipulate, he didn't allow me to manipulate it. And Kaman, why was he suddenly strict? Kaitana, because like a certain Tana, the Tanan, there's a Mishnah in Kalim, Perik Tezvav, Kaveris Akash or Kaveris Akonim, if you have a beehive made of straw or sticks, Ubor Sfina Alexandris, or if you have a tank that holds water on an ocean-going boat, Afal Pi Sheyesh Lem Shulayim, Ve'em Machzika Zarboim So Belach, Shein Kurayim Biyavesh Tahirim. Even though it has a bottom and it holds 40 sa of liquid, by the way, 40 sa of liquid is equivalent to 60 sa of solid. Why is that? Because liquid only goes up to the rim. After that it spills. But if it's solid, it can heap above the rim. The halach is that it's tahor, because for a keli to be a keli lekabel tumah, it has to be something which you can manipulate. And that Tana the Mishnah holds that the moment it holds, it can hold 2 kur biyavish, it holds 40 sa belach, which is 60 sa biyavish, because the heaping amount on top is another 20 sa. Then it's tahor, meaning it's not a keli to be makabel tumah. If it's not a keli, then you're not allowed to manipulate it on Shabbos. Abai just makes an observation. Shma mina, I hear from this, Hai Gudsha Til Sahavi. when you have a container that holds a certain amount up to the rim, how much can you heap above the rim? Another third. Because we said if it's 40 saw below the rim, it's 60 saw if you include the heaping amount. The extra 20 saw is a third from the outside. But by the way, it's common sense. Taisa says that it all depends on the dimensions of the keli, how deep it is and how wide it is. The kelim in the time of the Talmud were a half the height of the keli was half the diameter. So if the height of the keli is half the diameter, then the amount you can heap on top of it is a third more than, or half of what's inside. If it's 40 saw inside, it's 60 saw on the outside. Anyway, Abaye Chazi l'Rava de Kodavi l'Marav. Abaye once saw Rava looking Erev Shabbos, looking to the west. So Amar Leis, Abaye told Rava, but V'hatanya, we learned in a brayso, if you want to see Ben Hashmoshes, Kozman Shepnei Mizrach Madiman, you should look to the east to see if the east is still red. Amar Leis, so Rava explained to him, Misavrat, do you really think Pnei Mizrach Mamish? Do you really think that I have to look at the light in the east? Loi, Panim Hamadiman es HaMizrach. It means you should check the light in the west. If the light in the west is still enough to have made the east red, then it's still Ben Hashmoshes. But you really should look at the light in the west, because sometimes there are clouds in the east, and that's why the east is not red. So really, sunset is measured in the west, but it's the more sunlight there is in the west, as the sun is setting, there's still redness in the east. But you can look to the west to see when Ben Hashmoshes is over. Another version, Rava Chazia L'Abaye de Kodavi L'Mizrach. Rava saw Abaye looking to the east to see if there's still redness in the eastern sky. Amar Lei, so Rava says to me, Savra, do you think it's Pnei Mizrach Mamish? You think you really have to look in the east? It's Panim Hamadim es HaMizrach. We're talking about the sun setting in the west, which is reddening the sky in the east. And the Simanach Kavsa, it's a simon, sometimes there's sunlight going through a window, and it makes a light on the wall on the other side of the room. So therefore, even though we're talking about the light on the east, but we're really measuring how much light is still existent in the west. So that was the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. From sunset until there's no more light in the east, Rabbi said it actually starts from sunset. Again, I'm repeating, which is 3/4, which is 9/12 of a mil. And according to Rav Yosef, it starts when the redness of the sky is in the second half of the east, the upper half of the east, but in the bottom half of the eastern sky, it's already dark until the end, and that was 2/3 of a mil, or 8/12. Reb Nechemia says, he says, from the time from sunset until a half a mil. So again, if a mil is 24 minutes, then it's 12 minutes. If a mil is 22.5 minutes, it's 11.25 minutes. If it's 18 minutes, it's 9 minutes. Amar of Chanina, this is an interesting one. If you want to know how long Reb Nechemiah's Ben Hashmoshes is, Yaniach Chama B'Rosh HaKarmel, when you're on top of Har HaKarmel in Haifa, as the sun is about to set, now start running down the hill, running down the mountain, V'yerid V'yitbo Bayam, and jump into the Yam and Toivel, V'yal, and run back up to the top, V'zeu Shiurei Shor Reb Nechemiah. And that would be Reb Nechemiah's time. That's pretty good. From the top of Har HaKarmel down to the bottom, into the Mediterranean, and back up in 9 minutes. They can turn this into an Olympic event. Amar Reb Chia said, Be'er Shel Miriam, if you want to see the Be'er of Miriam that went with the Bnei Yisrael in the Midbar, Ya'alu l'Rosh HaKarmel, go to the top of Har HaKarmel, V'yitzpeh, look into the Mediterranean. V'yira, if you see a rock, Kamin Kavora, that has many perforations, that water pours out of it, Kavora Bayam in the Mediterranean, Zui Be'er Shel Miriam. That's Be'er Shel Miriam. It traveled with the Yidden through the Midbar and now found its home in the Mediterranean. There's other midrashim that the Be'er Shel Miriam is found in the Kinneres. Anyway, Amar Rav says, Mayin amitaltal tor v'zeo Be'er Shel Miriam. Rav says an interesting thing. If you somehow find this miraculous rock that has water pouring out from different points of the rock, and wherever you go, it rolls along with you, the water that comes from it is tahor, because the water is not in a container. Somehow there's some nace that this rock is connecting to an underground source, and water is pouring from the underground source through this rock. But the water is attached to the underground source, and therefore it's not Mekabel Tumah. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Ben Hashmoshes de Rav Yehuda, Kahanim Taivlim Bay. During the Ben Hashmoshes of Rav Yehuda, Kahanim can Taivl. Where says that makes no sense. Liman, according to who? Elaim of Rav Yehuda, according to Rav Yehuda, Sveikahu. The time from sunset, let's go according to Rabbah. The time from sunset until the east sky is dark is Safik Yom, Safik Laila. So if it's Safik Yom, Safik Laila, the Kahanim can't Taivl. They might be Taivling Balayla, which is too late. Elo ben Hashmoshes de Rabbi Yehuda le Rabbi Yosi kahanim toivlim bay. Rabbi Yosi was one that said ben Hashmoshes was keherafayin. The change from day to night was instantaneous. Well, according to him, the kahanim could still toivl during the ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda. So pshit, isn't that obvious? Because according to Rabbi Yosi, from day to night changes in an instant. So before that, which is the ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yosi, is still day. But says no, ma'od the maybe we should say Ben Hashmoshes de Rabbi Yosi, Meshach Shaykh b'd Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe Rabbi Yosi's instant of Ben Hashmoshes was at the last part of Rabbi Yehuda's Ben Hashmoshes, and therefore you could not toivel in the entire Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda. Kamash Malon. So what Shmuel is teaching you is the Shalom Ben Hashmoshes de Rabbi Yehuda, v'hadar Maschal Ben Hashmoshes de Rabbi Yosi. Only when Rabbi Yehuda's Ben Hashmoshes is over, after that starts the Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yosi, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yosi, the Kahanim can toivel throughout the entire Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda, because it's still considered day. Since we're not sure if the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yosi, Amar Rabba Bar Yochanan Rabbi Yochanan, halacha Rabbi Yehuda linyan Shabbos, halacha Rabbi Yosi linyan Truma. When it comes to Shabbos, we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda l'chumra. When it comes to Truma, we paskin like Rabbi Yosi. Explain. Bishlama, it's well understood. Halacha Rabbi Yehuda linyan Shabbos. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda l'gabi Shabbos l'chumra. You're not allowed to do malacha from the moment the sun sets. According to Rabbi Yosi, you could have done malacha until Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda is over. But we're machmer. We hold like Rabbi Yehuda. The moment the sun is set, you can't do malacha anymore. Aval linyan truma mahi. When you say we're machmer for Rabbi Yosi l'gabi truma, ilay militvila. If you say that the halacha is that the Kahanim can toivel, according to Rabbi Yosi, the Kahanim can toivel between sunset and Tzeisak HaChavim, but tzveikahi. But we weren't sure if the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yosi. So how can we say that we're makel to let them toivel at that time because we hold like Rabbi Yosi? But that's a leniency. Ella rather lachilas truma to leachli Kahanim truma ad shalem ben Hashmoshes de Rabbi Yosi. We're machmer that the Kahanim have to wait to toivel. They'll have to toivel before sunset. But to eat truma, they'll have to wait until the Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yehuda is over, and then wait a little more until the Ben Hashmoshes of Rabbi Yosi is also over. Now Taisus makes an observation. If Rabbi Yosi's Ben Hashmoshes starts instantaneously the moment Rabbi Yehuda is over, and the whole Ben Hashmoshes takes an instant, so what does that mean? You can't eat truma during Rabbi Yehuda's Ben Hashmoshes, but you wait one instant and then you can eat it. Sounds like it's not a big deal. So Taisus says that actually Rabbi Yosi's moment of Ben Hashmoshes will start a little bit after Rabbi Yehuda's is over. For argument's sake, a minute after Rabbi Yehuda's is over. So therefore they have to toivel before sunset, because maybe the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and that whole area is Ben Hashmoshes, Safik Yom, Safik Laila. But to eat truma, they have to wait until Ben Hashmoshes is over, wait another minute, and then, after another instant, they can eat truma liba de Rabbi Yosi. So we're machmer liba de Rabbi Yosi, the Ben Hashmoshes is not over until a minute after Rabbi Yehuda's Ben Hashmoshes was over. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Kaichav Echad Yom. If there's one star, it's still day. Shnaim, if you see two stars, it's Ben Hashmoshes. When you see Shlosha, three stars, then it's Laila. Tanya Nami Hachi, there's a brisa also that says that Kaichav Echad Yom, if there's one star, it's still day. Shnaim Ben Hashmoshes, if it's two, it's Ben Hashmoshes. Shlosha is Laila. But Amar Rabbi Yosi, when we talk about stars, like a Chavim Gedolim and Nirim B'Yom, we're not talking about large stars, because you can even see three large stars when it's still day. Like a Chavim Ketanim, not tiny little stars, Sheinir and Ella Balayla. Three tiny stars, they can only be seen much later in the night when it's already been night for a while. Ella Beinanim, it's average stars, and average stars can be seen, three average stars can be seen when it becomes night. Now I'm going to speak out something, I'm going to try to do it efficiently and quickly. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, the time of Ben Hashmoshes was, according to Rabbah, 3/4 of a mil. So 3/4 of a mil, you can calculate if a mil is between 18 and 24 minutes, what 3/4 of a mil would be. The problem is that in Psachim, Rabbi Yehuda says that from Shkias HaChama till Tzeisak HaChavim is 4 mil. Now, a meal is 18 minutes, that's 72 minutes. So 72 minutes is much more, 4 mil is much more than 3/4 of a mil. So there's a dispute how to understand this contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Haigon and Rav Shrira Goin, famous Shitas HaGoinim, say that Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind. Ben Hashmoshes is not 72 minutes. Ben Hashmoshes is from sunset until Tzesek HaChavim is 3/4 of a mil. And that's it. He changed his mind. It's not 4 mil, it's 3/4 of a mil. The Rabbeinu Tam, this is what we call the Rabbeinu Tam Zman, holds that 72 minutes is 72 minutes, and he says there's no contradiction in the Gemaras. Our Gemara says that you have to calculate when the sun starts to set. That's called Shkiyas HaChama. In the Gemara in Psachim, it's Shkiyas HaChama when the sun starts to set. Our Gemara says Misha Tishka Chama. What's the difference between Shkiyas HaChama and Tishka Chama? Shkiyas HaChama is when the sun first starts going below the horizon. And from there until the stars come out, the Rabbeinu Tam held was 72 minutes. And then at the end, when the sun's light is actually starting to disappear, from then there's only 3/4 of a mil until it finally disappears. So there's 72 minutes is the whole amount. Then another 58.5 minutes until the Saif Shkia begins. And when Saif Shkia begins until Tzesek HaChavim is another 13.5 minutes. And that ends up 72 minutes. So that's how you end up with the two shitas as when night is and where 72 minutes comes from. The 72 minutes is based on the Gemara Psachim that from sunset until the stars coming out is 72 minutes. And what he said here, with 3/4 of a mil, was the last part of that shkia. Now, by the way, the amount of time between sunset and stars coming out varies as to how far or how close you are to the equator. It also varies whether it's summer or winter. And in the summertime, the span is larger. So the Gra says that these Ismanim were dafke in Eretz Yisrael and anywhere along the latitude of Eretz Yisrael, and only September 21st and April 21st, only when it's an equal day. There's other shitas, and according to the other shitas, many people hold 72 minutes, Aliba de Rabbeinu Tam, in all the Shabbos of the year. If somebody does malacha throughout the entire Ben Hashmoshes from Friday to Shabbos, and the entire Ben Hashmoshes between Shabbos to Motzei Shabbos, so for sure he's chayv chatas. If it's day, then he did malacha on Shabbos. If it's night, then he did malacha. If he did malacha Friday. If Ben Hashmoshes between the sunset and the stars coming out is night, so then he did malacha on Friday. If it's still day, then he did malacha on Shabbos. Amalei Rava l'Shamoy, Rava told the Shabbos, Atun l'kimluchu b'shir d'Rabbanan, you're not so knowledgeable in the shiurim of the Chachamim. Adeshim sharesh dikli atlu shraga. When you see the sun at the top of the palm trees, it's time to light candles. B'yayim amunan mai, what do you do on a cloudy day? You can't see the sun on top of the palm trees. B'masa chazi tarnagoyla. If you're in town, take a look when the chickens start sitting on top of poles. That means it's becoming night. It's time to stop working and to light candles. B'daber in the field, look at the orve, look at the ravens when they're sitting on the branches. Inami or adane, there's a certain plant that when it's becoming night, the leaves turn to the west. So that'll be your indication. If you don't know time, that'll be your indication it's time to light candles. Taner Rabbanan, sheish tkiyos taiken erev Shabbos. They used to blow 6 tkiyos every Friday. Rishayna lahavdel sa'amim melacha shebesodes. The first was to tell the people in the fields to stop working. The shniya, the second was lahavdel ir v'chanuyas. People in the city should stop working and the store should close up. And shlishis, the third, was lahadlik esaner, to light candles. Divrei Rabbi Nosson. These are the words of Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says shlishis, the third kiyah was lachleitz tefillin, to take off tefillin, and the fourth kiyah was to light candles. V'shaya, and then the Baltekeya waits the amount of time it takes kedei tzlias dakoten or kedei lahadlik pas betanur, the amount of time it takes to roast a small fish or to attach bread in an oven. Then for tekeya, Maria v'tekeya v'shayvis. Then he blows a tekiya, true and a tekiya, and that's it. That's Shabbos. Reb Shimon Gamliel, Shmuel makes a mild observation. Ma'anasel am levavliyim shetoiken a Marian v'shayvsim etoich Marian. The people from Bavel have a minhag. They blow a tekiya and a trua, and they make Shabbos at the end of the trua. Toiken a Marian. If they just blow another tekiya and a trua, havalu chamisha, that's 5. We said you need 6. So Kimor Ella shetoiken v'chayzer v'toiken umerian. They blew a tekiya and then a trua, and v'shayvsim etoich Marian, and they stopped doing malacha after the Trua. But Minigav is saying B'Yadayim, that's how they do it. We used to do a Tkiya, Trua and a Tkiya, and that was the end. Masni le Rav Yehuda, le Rav Yitzchak Brei, Rav Yehuda taught Rav Yitzchak Yisan, Shniya lahadlik asaner. The second blow was to be madlik neiros. The Gemara says, command, that doesn't agree with anybody. Like Rab Nosson says it was the third Kiyah to be madlik neiros. Like Rab Yehuda Nasi, he said the fourth. Or rather, Shlish is lahadlik asaner, command Rab Nosson. On the third Kiyah, you lit neiros. Tana de Rabbi Shmuel, the Bryce was taught Rabbi Shmuel's Besmedrish, Sheish Tkiyas taken Erev Shabbos, they blew 6 times Erev Shabbos. Hischil litkayat ki rishayna nimnu haimdim besadim ila adar milachreish milasus kamlocha shebesadis. When they blew the first kiyah, the people in the field stopped digging and they stopped plowing and doing any work in the field. The people whose fields were closer to town should not come into town before the people whose fields are further away join them, and everybody should come into town together. Because if the people closer come into town and then the other ones come later, people will start saying, the ones who came later were Mechal Shabbos. It's not true. They weren't Mechal Shabbos. There's enough time to come in, so therefore everybody should wait and all the farmers should come in together. But still the stores were open and they used to take the shutters from the windows or the front of the store, lay them down flat and put merchandise on it. So it was still open. Now when he started to blow the second Kiyah, they pick up they take the merchandise off, put it into the store, they take their shutters, and and they put the shutters in front of the doors, and they close up. Similar like you see in the Arab Shuk, in the old city. You still have hot water on the stove, and you still have hot pots on the stove. Is when they blew the third kiyah, silak amasalik, you can take the stuff off the stove. So the hot food that you have is warm enough, is hot enough, it'll be for your Friday night meal. Whatever you want for tomorrow morning, hitman hamatman. You then insulated it, let's say with blankets, something that's not moisav hevel. So you insulated it for tomorrow, v'hidlik amadlik. And on the third kiyah, you now lit candles as Rabbi Nosson said. Now the Baltekeya, this shamus, used to wait the amount of time it takes to roast a small fish or to attach bread to an oven and bake, to crust, and then tekeya, Maria v'tekeya, v'shoivis. Then he blows it, tkiyah, trun tkiyah, and that's it. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina Shamati, I heard, Shembol lahadlik achar sheish tkiyah is madlik. I heard that you don't have to be madlik on tkiyah number 3. If somebody wanted to be madlik even after tkiyah number 6, you still can. This shamus who's blowing on the roof doesn't have to take time to go home and with his shayfer, so he still has time to run home with his shayfer, which means there's still time before night. So somebody else said to him, you're wrong. All of a sudden we're going to start measuring how far the shamus lives from the place where he blew. Rather, no, the moment you blew the 6th kiyah, it's over. On the top of the roof where he blew, there was a quiet place, and that's where he put the shayfer. Because you're not allowed to be metaltal, not a shayfer nor chatzaitzers, because they're muktzah. So just quickly, if I can, the Ramban claims that after Hadlokas Neiros, which was done on Tkiyah number 3, you can still do Malacha. Because it seems from the Gemara that after Tkiyah number 3, you could still roast a fish or bake bread. The Ran quotes the Bag that it's not true. I mean, you take the time that you could have baked bread or roasted a fish, and then you blow the last 3. But you're not allowed to do Malacha after that. You just, they were matter, just this Tkiyah. The Kolbai says that women are Mekabel Shabbos the moment they make the bracha. So if that's true, then if the woman makes the bracha and she lights the Shabbos candles, then she has to be careful not to extinguish it. So she puts it down gently, she shouldn't be Mechaber. The Ramah says that we follow the Mordechai, that women are Mekabel Shabbos with the bracha, so they can light the candles and make the bracha after they finished lighting. And in theory, they could even extinguish it, because it's not Shabbos, they didn't not Mekabel Shabbos till they make the bracha. The Ramah says that a woman could still make a t'nai when she makes the bracha that she doesn't want to be Makabel Shabbos yet. Magen Avraham says not to make any t'nai unless it's absolutely imperative. Let's continue. Zog the Gemara now. We're going to have a three-way contradiction. We just said that the shofar and the chatzaitzros are both muktzah. But Tanya will learn in Brisa number 2, shofar metaltel v'chatzaitzros ain't metaltelin. That the shofar is not muktzah, only the chatzaitzros are muktzah. Amar of Yosef, sir, of Yosef is like Hasha, it's not a contradiction. Kam b'yachid, kam b'shol tzibur. A shofar of a yachid is not muktzah, and a shofar of the tzibur is muktzah. Amalei Abai says, explain. Why would a shofar, a rounded horn, why is it not muktzah on Shabbos? Even though you're not allowed to blow on Shabbos, but you can put water into it and give it latina. You can give a child to drink from the narrow end of the shofar. So if that's true, but tzibur nami chazi legamei latina gani. So even if it's shofar shel tzibur, that sometimes there's a poor child doesn't have anything to drink from, so the shofar shel tzibur could be used for the child. So therefore, if a shofar is not muktzah because you can give a child to drink, then it shouldn't be muktzah whether it belongs to a yachid or a tzibur. And v'su, the third issue is haditanya kashem shemetaltlen as a shofar kach metaltlen as a chatzaitzer as mani. We have a brisa that says you're allowed to be metaltel both. So now I have a three-way contradiction. The first brisa said that the baltekeya, the shamas, puts away the shofar because the shofar and the chatzaitzer are both muktzah. The second brisa says the shofar is not muktzah, the chatzaitzer is muktzah. And this brisa says that both are not muktzah. So the first one said both are muktzah. The second brisa said one and one, shofar not and chatzaitzer yes. And this says neither is muktzah. Elul Kash, it's not a contradiction. Harab Yehuda, Harab Shimon, Harab Nechemia. Let me explain. Rabbi Yehuda holds of muktzah. So chatzaitzer is muktzah because the only thing you can do is blow. You're not allowed to blow on Shabbos. But the shofar is not muktzah. Why? It doesn't matter whether it's a yachid or the tzibur. It's because you can give a child to drink. So Rabbi Yehuda holds, even though normally a shofar is used to blow, but since you can use it to give a child to drink, the shofar is not muktzah, and the chatzaitzer is. The brisa that said both are not muktzah, they're both okay, as Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktzah. So not only can you handle the shofar, you can handle the chatzaitzer also, even though the chatzaitzer is a keli shemalach le'ser. Now, there's a Reb Nechemia who holds that on Shabbos you're not allowed to handle a keli unless you're handling it for its normal use. And since the normal use of a shofar is to blow, not to give a child to drink, so Reb Nechemia holds they're both muktzah. So again, the brisa that said both are okay is Reb Shimon, it doesn't hold of muktzah. The one that says neither is okay is Reb Nechemia, who holds that a chatzaitzer and a shofar are meant to blow, so both are muktzah. The one that says the chatzaitzer is aser is because you can only blow with it, so Reb Yehuda holds it's muktzah. But on the other hand, the shofar that has another use, Reb Yehuda holds it's not muktzah. Now there's going to be a subtle problem we're going to solve. Listen carefully. If that's true, then why did the brisa say you're not allowed to be metaltel neither a shofar nor a chatzaitzer? It should have said the other way. You're not allowed to be metaltel a chatzaitzer, says Reb Nechemia, and not even a shofar. Even though the shofar has another use to give a child to drink, you're not allowed to be metaltel a shofar either. So why did it say shofar first and then chatzaitzer? It should have said it's also to be metaltel the chatzaitzer and the shofar. The Gemara says something which sounds complicated, but let's make it simple. You should know, my shofar nami chatzaitzers. You should know when the brisa before said shofar v'chatzaitzer, it meant chatzaitzer v'shofar. What am I talking about? Because keder of Chizda, damer of Chizda, hanit lasmili, ishtani shmaim, yikichar beis hamikdash. Since the churban beis hamikdash, there are three things that their names switched. What used to be a chatzaitzarta, which is a straight, and a shofar was curved. Now the shofar, the curved one, is now called the chatzaitzatra. So the curved one is now called the chatzaitzer. L'may nafkamina, what's a chilik? L'shofar shel Rosh Hashanah. If you send somebody to the market today to buy a shofar shel Rosh Hashanah, tell them to buy a chatzaitzer. Because if you tell them to buy a chatzaitzer, he'll come back with a curved one, which we call a shofar. So the brisa that says don't be metaltel a shofar meant don't be metaltel a straight one, v'lo chatzaitzer, not even a curved one, because the curved one in the time of the Mishnayos was called a chatzaitzer. Next, arava tzavtzava arava. Before the churban, an arava was what you used on your arba minim, and the tzavtzava was a puzzle one. It had different shaped leaves. It had rounded leaves and not longer leaves. What happened was that what used to be called a tzavtzava is now called an arava. So my nafkamina, the nafkamina is lululav. If you send somebody to go to the market to buy you arovas for your arba minim, tell him to buy a tzaftzava, and you'll get what we call a perfect arova. P'sayra psurta, psurta p'sayra. Used to be a p'sayra was a large table and a psurta was a small one. Now the psurta, the smaller one, is really, when you say psurta, you really mean p'sayra, a big one. Lamay nafkamina l'mekach hamemker. If you give me $100 and I say I'll give you a psurta, the olden days before the churban I had to give you a small one. Now I have to give you a big one, because now a psurta is a big one. Amar Abayaf anu naimar. I have another pshat. Huv lila bekasi of lila. Let me explain. This is a chulin diki gemara. You know that there's 4 stomachs in an animal. There's a keres, then there's a beis hakoises, and then there's a hemsis. So from the keres it goes to the beis hakoises, and from the beis hakoises it goes to the hemsis. The hemsis has one skin. Its stomach has one skin. The beis hakoises has a double skin. Consequently, if there's a hole, then it's treifa. But in a beis hakoises, it's only treifa if the needle perforated both skins, because then it made a hole through and through. In the hemsis, it's a treifa the moment it perforated the only skin. So you should know what used to be called the huvlila, which means hemsis, and fakert was the beikosi, was the beis hakoises. Today, what once was called the beikosi, the beis hakoises, is today called the huvlila, is today called the hemsis. If you find a needle in the skin of the beis hakoises, the halach is, if it's mitzad echad ksher, if it's only a hole in one skin, it's kosher. Mishnei tzdadim is treifa. So you should know today, this halach is going to be in the huvlila. Huvlila is another name for hemsis, but huvlila / hemsis is what used to be called the beis hakoises. And bottom line, it's the beis hakoises that's not treifa unless you perforated both skins. Amar Rav Ashi Zok Rav Ashi Af on the Neymar Bavel Borsiv Bavel. What used to be called Bavel is now called Borsiv. What used to be called Borsiv is now called Bavel. L'mayin Afkamina L'gitei Noshem. When you write a get, you have to write what the name of the town is as it's called today. So tomorrow, Mirat Hashem, we'll start the next Perik. I hope maybe the second day Chalamai to have 2 shiurim. So and then we'll have one more Amud to catch up, and hopefully, if the Gemara is not too hard, we'll be able to do it. A good night to everybody. I hope everybody's healthy and stays healthy. Kol Tiv.